Good afternoon, YouTubers. Tsquare with Tsquare Talks. Hope everybody's having a great Monday. Kicking off the week with a really great video. It was based off a comment that I recently had. So recently, it was actually last night that I had the comment. And it was basically about a gentleman, and he is on Social Security. And what he's trying to do right now is to sell down a lot of his miscellaneous stuff and start picking up more gold and silver, probably specifically silver. So we're going to talk a little bit about that because some of y'all know I am retired military. I essentially am on a subsidized, you could say, living because I get my military retirement and that is the bulk of my income. Do I look for other ways to wheel and deal, make a few, I won't say dollars because it's not dollars, but I do a lot of trading and bartering to where maybe I could buy this ounce of silver and trade it for something else that I need that would cost me a little bit more. For a while, I was actually buying, what would be a good example that I can share on here? You guys know a good example was when I told you guys about the tire deal. I traded one of these when I picked this up for $20, and I traded it for essentially a $40 tire. Now, at this point, I would say he probably had the upper hand, maybe, but would he have gotten $40 for that tire? He probably wouldn't have gotten it from me. It was a gently used tire. It wasn't brand new, but it was new to me, and it lasted me a couple of years before I got rid of it. So it benefited me, but that's an example of something that you can do to kind of, I'll say, subsidize a little bit. So that's kind of what we're going to talk about tonight. We're going to talk a little bit about what's going to happen, or what I believe is going to happen to people that are on a subsidized living. Maybe they're not working. It doesn't mean they can't work, but we'll get to that in a minute. It just means they're probably not working right now, and they're just, kind of living off their Social Security. Hopefully they have other means of income. But we'll talk about that. Before we get started, I'd like to ask everybody to take a quick minute, hit that thumbs up button for me. It really helps out the channel. I would like to ask everybody to leave me a comment. Let me know your thoughts on what's going to happen if the dollar collapsed tomorrow to people that are on government subsidies, whether that be Social Security, whether that be some sort of government retirement, military retirement, whatever the case may be. Let me know your comments. If you're not subscribed, please take a quick minute, hit that subscribe button, and we'll just take a quick flash real quick for our members. Thank you to all my members that do the $1.99 a month membership. I thank you guys, and this was our fun event that we're doing right now, which is they get to pick their teams, and if they can pick a perfect card -1, you get a free prize, and that prize is an ounce of silver. So for some of these people, if they happen to be a member, they got a shot at winning something cool. So just a quick little plug. If anybody would like to become a member, you can hit that join button down below. It's only $1.99 a month. I thank you for that. But if you're not a member and you can't be for whatever the reason, it's okay. I'm glad to have you guys here. That's the most important thing. So with that being said, let's jump right in right off the bat. So the first thing that I've got to talk about is what happened in the Great Depression. To really fully understand what happened, you had the Great Depression, you had everybody, I'm going to say margined, heavily in debt, with basically the stock market. The stock market was the big debt chase back then. They were margining their accounts. And, when it all went bust, for those of you that don't know what a margin is, I'll give a quick one, but I've done explanation videos on that. Let's say you do a 4-to-1 margin. You buy one share for $100. You margin it 4-to-1. Your shares, you have 4 now. If those shares go up by $1, you go up $4 instead of essentially 1. If the shares go down by $1, you go down by $4 instead of 1. Problem is, if the stock takes a 25% hit, you have 4 shares And those shares that were at $100 now goes down to 75, and essentially you get a margin call because you've pretty much lost your entire capital all at once. To get a full description video, you can check out my video where I talked a little bit about margining, because I don't want the video to get too long. But when you think about what happened, all of a sudden, everybody lost everything they had. There was no Social Security back then. There was no real money. We used gold and silver, yes, as money, and they want to paint the blame that that's why that happened, because there was a limited amount of gold and silver, a limited amount of money. That's not what brought that on. What really brought on the Great Depression, in my opinion, was the heavy debt, the gambling that was going on. And we see that today, whether that be with cryptos, with these cryptos that, oh, you can put your coins in this account and you're going to make 20% on your crypto just by holding it, or 15%, or astronomical prices. And we're going to take your money, we're going to invest it, whether that be CDs. Oh, I'm going to put my money in a CD at the bank, a treasury note, the bank is going to get maybe 6% on that treasury, and they can pay you 4%, and you make money. The problem that comes up is when the system starts falling apart, which we're starting to see now happen. These treasury notes that started out at 3% are now up almost 6%. I don't know the exact number right this minute because that's not really what this video is about. But now those 3% CDs aren't really worth as much as they were before. So the bank has to write off losses. As the banks start showing more and more losses, they start to be in trouble. Well, that money is your money. That's your savings and stuff. So back then in 1929, when everybody pretty well got wiped out, it didn't take long before you had them all of a sudden say, you know what, we need to take everybody's gold. We need gold. So in 1933, in May of 1933, you had people turning their gold for $20.62 roughly, and they collected all the gold. It wasn't long after that. It was only 2 years later in 1935 that they ended up basically coming up with this whole new deal. They're going to do Social Security. They're going to do all this stuff. Before that, there was not a lot of government subsidies, which means your savings was in the money. It was in the gold. Now, it's not in gold. It's in paper. It's in fiat. Most people, probably 95%, maybe even 99% of the U.S., who knows, don't invest in gold and silver. They don't believe in it. They're not taught about it in schools. They don't really fully understand what money is. They think those little pieces of paper are money. And yes, anything can be money if people choose to accept it. The problem that comes up is when people don't accept it as money anymore. The people control what money is. We have been brainwashed that dollar bills and debt notes are money. And as that starts falling apart and people move away from it, all of a sudden it starts losing value. And that's what we're seeing around the world. We're seeing a potential dollar collapse as it continues to people moving away from the dollars. Now, what's probably going to happen for younger people, or people that can still work a job, the government will probably roll out. We'll get some new president that will come in. They'll change policies. This will be after the dollar collapses, and they'll change policies. They'll try to put people back to work in productive jobs, not shuffling papers, not mediocre. Well, they're going to be mediocre, but they're going to be production. Because when you produce more stuff, you increase your GDP. Your GDP goes up. People want your stuff. They're willing to buy it. And if they've got to buy it with real gold, real silver, other assets, they're going to. Where does that leave the older, elderly people? Unfortunately, if an elderly person did not plan for this, they're going to be in a hard time. Now, do I think that certain states, just like prior to 1929, certain states, it was about probably 30 states that offered some sort of single mothers, basically mothers with a child dependent, where they would help them out. They would give them some sort of subsidy, but it was very small. It was small, but it was enough to get by. I think that will come about again for certain states. But keep in mind, at this point, the government is essentially broke. And the only way they're going to be able to convince people to all go back to work after they just lost their Social Security, they just lost their retirement, they just lost everything they had, is with some sort of real money, sound money, gold, silver, or convince people that they have the gold and they have the silver, and we're going to be using a new digital currency where we can control it, kind of like Bitcoin, where there's only so much of it out there, so you can't overprint it. It will be literally a whole new deal that will start up again. But that still doesn't really help the elderly people. So the best thing, in my personal opinion, for elderly people is look around where you can get a little extra money right now. Take that little extra money and put it towards gold or silver, because that is a store of wealth. Now, shaving your Social Security a little bit, making sure that you take a little bit of those funds, putting it into gold and silver, I think that's a great thing to do. Some people are going to say, well, they can't afford that because they're already strapped with the bills. Paying down bills, any bills that you have that have interest, that's going to be a major thing. And just cutting back. You know, cut back on what you spend, cut back on what you do. I don't want to suggest that you look into, well, I'll suggest it. I mean, I guess, maybe looking into church projects that can kind of help you out a little bit. I know that if you volunteer at a food bank, I have a friend of mine, she volunteers at a food bank, and they make her take a bag of food home every week when she volunteers. And they do that because some of the people that are there need the help. Some of the people there don't need the help. But by giving everybody a bag, it makes it to where someone don't feel awkward. And so that's one of the projects. And she takes it home and she uses it. So I think that you need to start now, preparing for what could happen. It's just like any other insurance, whether it's a life insurance, a home insurance, a car insurance. When that happens, there's not going to be much money for you. There's not going to be many benefits for you. Stuff will be wiped out instantly. Prices will continue to climb. And I've seen it happen in a lot of oil areas where the prices just keep inching up. And a lot of people get boxed out if they're elderly. So I don't want to see that happen to any of my subscribers. So please start planning now. And with that being said, I can't let the video get too long. I thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please hit that thumbs up button. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you think. And I'll see you guys again on Tsquare Talk. Y'all have a great day. Thank you all for watching. Bye-bye.